it's you can't revive it no more, bro. That age has passed. Gangbanging has already passed into the era of it's done. It's vintage, brother. It's history. My name is Luis. I used to go by the name Looney. Grew up in a neighborhood called Logan Park, Logan Street, in the city of Santa Ana. We call it Santana in Orange County. And most recently, I do my thing like you do on YouTube, and my channel is called The Prisoner's Awakening.
Hey, your camera's shaking a little bit every time you just so it
Okay,
like yeah, don't worry, we can
let me
edit
do
that
that.
part out. It doesn't matter. I'm just letting you know so
Okay,
like the whole interview doesn't look, a little
right,
shaky.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
good
trying to
looking out. Yeah, good looking
yeah,
out.
no. So you mentioned Santa Ana. Are you born and raised?
Yeah. Well, I was born in East LA, and yeah, I was living in Santa at the time. And the reason I was born in LA is because that was my mom's medical. That's where the only place you could take that free welfare to be
Yeah,
born. So
yeah.
yeah, I was even born poor, brother.
I got you. I got you. No, I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of people have a similar story. Like, oh, I had to be born over here, but I'm really from over here though. Like, I hear that story a
Yeah,
lot.
exactly.
Were you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have an older brother and a younger sister, and then my mom she passed, and my pops is in El Salvador. He got deported years ago.
Oh
Yeah.
God, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. What was the upbringing like when you were a kid? Like, was it a pretty tame household, violent, or like what was it? What was it like?
There was a lot of domestic violence, brother. There was a lot of
Mm,
domestic violence, a lot of drinking on my pop's side, and we since came to terms with things like that. We talked, and it's all good now. But yeah, he was a very violent man growing up. But
mm,
then again, he was young. He didn't know no better, and this is not making excuses for him. It just that's just what it
mm.
was. And now as an older man with the other relationships that I actually came to resent him for a little bit with his girlfriends after they got a divorce. He was kind of like passive and real calm, and I used to sit there and watch his girlfriends go off on him, and he was just like he wouldn't do shit. Not that I wanted him to do anything, but at the time he used to put hands on my mom. And I was like, damn, bro, like. But it happens. I chalk it up to him just growing up and becoming a man, bro.
I got you. You mentioned that it was pretty violent. You were exposed to that from a young age.
Yeah, as far as domestic, yeah, for sure. And then, man, the first time I witnessed a murder, I was man, like 10 years old. So yeah,
Okay.
no, definitely. Not
We'll
even
de-
that wasn't
we'll
even dead bodies before then too. Yeah,
Okay, we'll definitely get into that for sure. But I just
yeah,
want to
for sure.
dig into a little bit more of your past before we get to some of the other
You're good. Yeah,
stuff.
we're good.
Yeah. Would you say that like they were pretty much still? Was your pops affiliated with the streets at all, or not really?
He was a street. Okay, so he was affiliated with the streets. Yeah, definitely, man. I used the first he was a weed smoker. So
Okay. Okay.
the scent of weed came to my childhood very early on before I even knew what it was. So he
Mm,
used to smoke a lot of weed.
okay.
He definitely drank a lot, and he was definitely in the streets. I'll say that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So by the time you were born, would you say that they were still pretty out there doing their thing, or were you? Did you have a
Yeah,
lot
oh
of
yeah.
supervision growing up, or not really? Were you?
Yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I did on my mom's side because my mom wasn't affiliated. My mom was a
Okay.
regular.
Your mom
I call
was
her La Paisita. She was from El Salvador as well.
gotcha.
Just like any honorable immigrant coming over, she was one of those, the quintessential immigrant, working hard, all that. My pops worked hard, but he was a street hoodlum
Gotcha. So he had
at
his
the
little
same time.
hustles to the side for sure at some point, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You telling me all of that, would you say you got into the bullshit at a young age? When did the streets come into the picture for you?
They came into the picture. Shit, I was like just right when I turned 13. I think that's when I like made the conscious decision to be like, all right, I'm gonna be from the hood because my brother was already from the gang. My
Mm,
uncle's a full-fledged gang member as well. So it was kind of generational for me. So I was
mm,
just like, man, I'm gonna get into this, and it was kind of precipitated by an event coming from school. I was in elementary, shortly into junior high. The neighborhood that I used to live in, I used to have to walk through my enemy's neighborhood just to get home. And even before I was from the rival gang, some dude beat me up from there. He was a gang member, and I
mm,
wasn't from that hood yet, but he beat me up just in case. He's like, "You live over here, okay? Let me just go ahead and beat the hell out of you real quick, just in case think of becoming from this hood." And he pushed me towards it. He pretty much
mm.
pushed me towards it, and I was like, "All right, cool. I got family from here. Now I'm gonna become there, and I'm gonna go get my revenge." That's
Yeah,
pretty much what precipitated the whole thing.
So would you say that's a pretty common reason why a lot of younger dudes eventually get put on because they get confronted by other dudes that's already from a gang and then like, or would you say like that's just a catalyst or
It was just a catalyst for me.
mm,
I would say that most people join because I think I would have joined because I would have looked up to my role models on the street corner, my brother, my uncle, my older homeboys, the dude that had the cars, the women, the money, the drugs.
mm-hmm,
I think that's what most kids are attracted to.
mm-hmm,
I think me, I just not to say that it's like a small case. It
mm-hmm.
probably happens a lot, but I think that I don't think this is the majority. But that's what happened. That's how I joined.
I got you for sure. So you mentioned that it was pretty young. When did you ever do some time at juvenile hall? I'm assuming you did, but
Yeah, yeah. Shortly after, before I turned 14, I was already in juvenile hall. I
okay,
got locked up for with the shit. The first time I got locked up, for for a fire possession of a firearm, 357. I was a kid with a cannon, you know,
gotcha, gotcha. So
for
your
sure.
first ever charge was a gun charge.
It was a gun charge. Yeah,
Did you
unfortunately.
did you end up going to camp for that one time, or did they let you out on house arrest for your first time?
Oh no, no, I did a year. I
You
did a
did a
straight
year in
year.
camp.
It would just say like a straight eternity for me. And I did it in juvenile hall camp, juvenile hall because I was already from a neighborhood. And as soon
Gotcha.
as I hit the halls, man, I had enemies in there.
God
So
damn.
we had
Okay.
to rush each other on site, that gang banging behind the walls, fighting all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely, yeah.
Man,
That was
okay.
my
So
first time and I was a kid.
so that was your first. You went up into the halls and you saw what type of program it was. Like it's just no politics and everyone's just going at it at the tables and
They
everything.
just going at it, brother. There
Yeah.
was no politics. Yep.
It's crazy. So what did you go to
For sure.
Central, LP, Silmar? Where did you go?
Well, I'm from Orange County, so
Oh, it's a little bit different.
be yeah, and I've heard of LP and all those. It's
Yeah,
kind of similar, brother. So we have Orange County Juvenile Hall.
gotcha.
It's pretty similar. You go to the main juvenile hall, and they have A through Z units, and then some camping units, and then eventually you make it to three camps. Uh, YGC, Joplin, and Los Pinos. So it's LP, but it's Los Pinos, not
I
Los Padrinos.
see.
Like
Okay, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So it's
Yeah.
very similar. Yeah.
Similarities there for sure. So you said you did a year in camp for your first time. Did you ever have to go back? Like you didn't just go to juvie one time. Did you have multiple cases as a juvenile?
Oh yeah, man. I spent the next 5 years in and out.
Oh
As soon as I
shit.
went
Okay.
out, yeah. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as I got out, I never even reported. I never bothered reporting to my probation officer because I was a weed smoker. And
Mm,
whenever in probation, before, I mean, weed is legal now, right?
yeah.
But every single time I got out, I mean, I went straight to smoking weed, and
Gotcha.
I would be damned if I was gonna go report and you're gonna take
Right.
me in. So
Right.
I just went on the run from
Every
the
time.
gate, and that's just what it was. Yeah, but I used to always go in with the ad charge, with the new charge, burglary, robbery, whatnot. But my first
Mm,
charge will be absconding, going on the run. But yeah, hell yeah,
mm.
man. The next 5 years, I grew up in there.
Damn. So you were going in and out. You're pretty much your all of your juvenile years.
Yes.
So and then the county jails out there. I'm not familiar with the county jails at all. So break it down for me. Like, how was it for you when you first went from having no politics in juvenile hall and then going to county jail where you had to deal with like actual politics?
So by the time I got to the county, bro, I was tired of fighting. I was tired of just like, because I already knew by that age, my brother was already in the county in prison.
Mm,
My uncle likewise, my pops as well.
mm,
But I knew that all these dudes that I was fighting, we would get along in the county jail. And I was already tired of every single time catching more time, fighting these dudes like fuck. But I know we get along as soon as we get in the county. So I was kind of like in a hurry, unfortunately, in a hurry to get to the county so we would have to fight anymore, because I knew the
mm,
politics were different. But
right.
this was the latter part of my juvenile hall years, right? The beginning to the middle, man, I loved it. I wanted to fight, I wanted to do my thing, but you get burned out pretty quick. Like I needed 3 years of fighting all the time to be like, all right, this is old already. Let's do something else. But yeah, by the time I hit the county jail, it was a relief for me as far as that. I was ready to graduate in a sense to the Sureño politics, to the 13 and things like that, because the juvenile stuff was already like I already knew that we were wasting our time. I already knew
Mm,
that there was dudes building a reputation and building a career based on the 13,
mm,
and this gangbanging stuff was already like it was some kid stuff.
Mm,
That was my whole rationalization. But we have the main jail, and then we have Theo Lacey facility. And then we have the farm. This are the three county jails in Orange County, and
mm,
it's pretty much the same concept as LA County with the
mm.
Twin Towers, East, West,
Yeah,
everything.
Supermax.
Um, Supermax, exactly. So it's pretty much the same concept, brother. The main jail's the old ass county jail. There's bars, dungeons,
Okay.
holes, and Theo Lacey's all like new cells, all concrete and with window doors and things like that. So it's a lot newer, a lot cleaner. That's for sure.
Okay. Cleaner. That's nice.
Yeah, for real.
So, did you spend a lot of time in county jail, or were you like already catching your first prison terms by the time you were hitting 18?
Well, I did one county year. My first
Okay.
time in the county, I did a county year, and then I got out, and then I caught my term. I only did one prison term, and but yeah,
Okay. Sound yeah. I've never been to prison myself. I was looking through your Instagram and I saw that you were at Kern Valley at some point.
yeah. That was the last prison I was at.
That was
Yeah,
the last prison. Okay. So,
yeah.
how many? Break it down for me. How was it
Okay,
for
so
your whole experience?
I got a so I did the first county year, and then I got out, and then I ended up catching I ended up catching a case, right? I was fighting two murders and an attempted murder,
Oh shit.
um, partly due to weapons, the weapons that I was caught with, and things like that.
Mm.
And ultimately, I fought my case for 3 years in the county the second time. My case was a shootout, or at least part of my case was a shootout. I shot my victim 4 times, so I ended up being convicted. Well, I was first charged with conspiracy to commit murder for the benefit of the gang, all that stuff. I went over there, I hit them up, I gangbang on them, jumped off the car, all that stuff. Uh, but I got shot in the case. I got shot in my chest. I spent 3 weeks in
Mm.
the hospital. I escaped from the hospital. Um, and but I was on the run for 8 months. The U.S. Marshals were looking for me everywhere. And when I was finally caught, I was ultimately sentenced to 15 years. And that was my term, 15 years in prison. I
Dang.
maxed out. I did 15 years in prison. The first prison I was at was a Reception, Wasco State Prison. And we got there. We were at war with the Bulldogs. And sure enough, shortly thereafter, I went to D-Yard. The COs, we were on a lockdown, but the COs cracked our doors open, and we ran down there. They were showering, and we got our money. Went to the hole. That was my beginnings, And from there, I went to Centinela State Prison. I caught my first Transpac bag. I went to Centinela to the 4 yard there. Um, Caught a few, did a few missions there. Beat some dudes off the yard, and they caught a stabbing, and then did a 15-month shoe in C6, which is the hole in Centinela. And then I finished up my shoe term there because at the time the shoe was so packed with dudes being validated for being associates of the Mexican Mafia or Nuestra Familia or AB whatnot. The shoes were so packed with validated gang members that they really had no room for like just short term, meaning like anything from 15 months to 2 years shoe terms for regular stabbings. It's crazy to say, right? So if you were doing your
Regular
whole shoe term in the
stabbings.
hole, yeah, right. You like just
What?
hit. To them, it
Okay.
was nothing. To them, it was nothing. They would rather have the gang leaders because they had indeterminate shoe terms.
Okay.
They would see a stabbing as a regular shoe term, meaning it was determinate.
Huh.
You were only there 15 months, 2 years, 3 years max. So you weren't a priority at the time. They were trying to lock up all the gang members for being gang leaders and associates of the Mexican mafia and so on and so forth. That
Mm.
if anybody had a couple of years of a shoe term, they would let them do their whole shoe term in the hole, and that's it. And then they would be kicked out to the yard and transferred. So that's what happened to me. I got transferred back out to the yard to C yard, which is a level 4, and then I ended up in New Corcoran and the 180 on a level 4.
Mm.
I got there, and I was there for like almost 5 years. But as soon as I got there, man, maybe like about 6 months later, we ended up getting into a big ass riot with the Nortenos, with the Northerners. And I don't know if you know, but for anybody that doesn't know, Sureños and Norteños did not get along
Mhm.
whatsoever in the
Mhm.
system. There was times that there was truces, not a truce, like I want to say ceasefires. That's a
Okay.
better way to put it.
For
You'd have a
certain cities or
ceasefire
like
for
all together?
well, all together in the system or
Okay.
certain prisons at the
Okay.
point,
Certain
because there
prisons.
was other prisons, yeah, certain prisons. There was prisons that were always at war. Corcoran was always at war, but at that moment, but they used to have ceasefires in between, and I
Mm.
think that's the period where we're at. At a ceasefire. Actually, one of my cellies from Verdugo Flats, he told me he was a Centinela. He had came from New Corcoran, and he was like, "Hey, well, you going to Sat F, because that's the name of it." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "They've been programming for like about a year and some change." He's like, "It's about that time." And
Mm.
when he said that, I already knew what he meant. It's about that time for it to kick off, because
Mm.
we don't program with the Norteños for too long. But yeah, sure enough, 6 months into it, it kicked off. It kicked off everywhere, the lower yard, every single block that we're in, every section, including my section. And yeah, and so I wasn't involved in that riot. I wasn't able to get out of my cell because I was A2B. For anybody that knows what that means, I didn't have an assignment, so I couldn't go out of my cell on the weekends, and everybody else was able to go out. So it
Huh.
was just me and one dude on the whole top tier of Sureños that stayed there, and the rest of the Sureños left on that mission, meaning they all took off on the Norteños. And then that ultimately led me to Pleasant Valley.
Okay.
And when I got to Pleasant Valley, okay, so before I left Corcoran, we were on a lockdown for 23 months. I didn't leave my cell for 2 years almost. And when I say I didn't leave my cell, picture not leaving your room for 2 years,
Yeah, it
you
just
know,
sounds
like
insane.
literally, legitimately, like
Yeah.
23 months, I didn't leave my cell. The only times I left my cell was to go to medical real quick, which is another cage, and right back to
Damn.
my cage, you know. So when I got to Pleasant Valley, it was a level 3. It was supposed to be level 3 program, more freedom. Hell no. We have the Bulldogs over there. We have the Fresno Bulldogs, and anybody from any type of Bulldog in the Central Valley, there's a Bulldog was there. And we were on lockdown there too. So we were going at war with them. And in that prison, it was the Norteños, the Bulldogs, and the Sureños.
Mm.
So all three factions were at war. We
Damn.
weren't at war with the Northerners then, but the Northerners were at war with the Bulldogs, and we were at war with the Bulldogs. So it was just a hectic situation as well, right? And where the Bulldogs, anywhere you go, they get off too, meaning they rush us, they stab dudes, they do all that, right? But in that prison, they were more strategic. They were waiting for us and the Norteños to rush them because the warden and the captain has said that whoever the aggressor is going to stay on lockdown.
Mm.
So they were strategic, and we couldn't do that. Our policies dictated that we rush on site. Sometimes they get to rush us first before we get the upper hand, and sometimes we rush them first. But at that point, if they're not rushing us, they're just waiting for us to rush them so they can stay off lockdown. They were being smart. That's what they were doing. So I spent another 10 months on lockdown. When I got to that prison, they had been on lockdown 17 months. So I got there for the last 10 months of that, and something crazy happened. One of the Mexican mafia members, um, which was something that had never been foreseen at the time, ended up taking the green light off. I guess the dude that had put him on permanent lockdown had passed away. One of the Mexican mafia members passed away, so that gave room for Mexican mafia members that wanted to make money on that yard to lift the green light on the Bulldogs, and then we ended up programming with them for a short time. But before then, I got in a freaking big ass riot with them, and then they laid off uh, 10 Sureños, 2 Paisas, the Mexicans, the Paisas, the
Mm.
Mexican nationals.
Mm.
They run with the Sureños,
Mm.
and they unlocked us. There was about 60 Bulldogs and 12 of us together. So imagine those numbers.
Mm.
And we rushed them. I caught my first. I beat that stabbing, but I caught my first stabbing because I rushed them with one of my homeboys from Ventura County, um, and yeah, I got my ass whooped. I got my ass whooped straight up. We rushed them. I stabbed a few of them, but after that, man, I had a wave of like 10 dudes on me, and that's just what it was. So yeah, after that, I was in a hole for a minute, and then I ended up going out of state to Mississippi, to Arizona. Caught a stabbing in Mississippi. Mississippi is just a whole different story. I won't even get into that because I could be here for 10 hours talking about
We
Mississippi.
could definitely
It's
run a
like
part
prison
two
wire.
on Mississippi for sure,
Yeah,
for
for sure.
sure.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure,
for
brother,
sure.
for sure. It was, put it this way, it was like a prison YA. It
Prison
was off the
YA.
hook over there.
So
Like a
there's
prison
no
YA, meaning
politics.
there was politics, but they were being violated all the freaking time. You could fight with whoever you wanted, and pretty much as we were so far away from California, we could get away with certain things politically. You know, so I wasn't the one stepping out of line because I had came from a 4 yard or
Right,
structured
right.
prison, but dudes over there were getting sent straight from reception that had never been to no yards, straight over there. So they were running amok, and these are the dudes that had the keys to the house and things like that.
What?
So they didn't know about politics exactly. They were like making shit as they went along. And for those of us that knew what was up, we were going out there and we're like, what the hell's going on out here? So anytime one of us used to try to say something, they would remove dudes, right? But I went over there and I found three of my homies from my hood and a couple of homies from South Central and East LA that knew what's up. And we pretty much just like six of us against the whole structure, and they couldn't get rid of us because we were holding our own, strapped up, doing all that. But anyways, yeah, I ended up stabbing some dude from LA from street violence, and then I came back home to the shoe. I ended up catching a 3-year shoe term to Hatchie shoe, and then ultimately I was released into Kern Valley State Prison back to a level to a 4-year to a 180, and that's where I spent the rest of my time. And by that time, we had already done the hunger strikes. We had already all the organizations had been released to the mainline, the Mexican Mafia, Nuestra Familia, Aryan Brotherhood, Black Guerrilla. So it was a great environment. It was a great environment for me because I had done time with these dudes in the shoe and all that. But now we had them on the yard.
Mm.
Now they were on the yard. Now was no more getting away with bullshit politics, no favoritism, none of that, because now you didn't have to go to the shoe to talk to these individuals. Now you could just leave your cell, go to the yard and talk to them right there if you had an issue. And everything was just so much more easy.
Gotcha. So, how old were you towards the end of your like at Kern Valley?
At Kern Valley, I paroled when I was 35,
You're 35 when you paroled.
34, almost 35 years
30,
old. Yeah.
30. Okay, and what year was this?
2019.
20. Okay, so you've been home for less than 5 years.
Yes, for sure. I'm
So
going on
how
3 years since I've been home.
so how has it been for you, like now? Like I've going through what you just told me was insane. Like all the things that you were going through. Like because me,
That's 15 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
15 years of stuff. I mean, you pretty much paraphrase as best as you could, but it just sounds like a whole lot. I've never been to prison myself, so it's hard for me to imagine.
Yeah.
But how was it for you after going through all of that and coming back into like normal life and just readjusting to just being a normal person? Like, how have you managed so far?
Okay, so yeah, it's a great question. I have PTSD off the
Oh, for
top.
sure. Yeah, I
It's
don't
something
doubt.
that
Yeah.
it's something that to me, coming home, I know I paroled and I was in Bakersfield, and I took the bus to LAX, and then from LAX I took the Metro Link back home to Orange County.
Mm,
But I remember hitting that big tunnel, man. And you talk about culture shock, brother. There was people literally. Not only would I have like that show culture shock, just culture shock because of a lot of people, but there was literally people from all over the world. This is LAX, bro. Like there was tourists all over that place. So I
right.
legitimately seen like Indians from India with the
Mhm.
the
Uh-huh.
little dress, a little dot,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
Arabians, people from all over the place, bro. And
Right.
I tripped out, and I was walking down the tunnel, and I'm seeing all people from all walks of life, from all over the world, and I had to stop. I had to stop, put my hand on the wall, because the whole world started spitting on me, and I was in a cage for the last 15 years, in a concrete cage,
Hmm.
2-man cell, the size of a closet, brother.
It's
So to me, it was just like, whoa, it was a little overwhelming. And but you do the best that you can. Even the shoe programs and things like that. You're in a concrete cage, solitary confinement, whatnot. So I steadied myself, took deep breath, got over the panic attack. And even in prison, you have anxiety attacks, right? It happens, bro. You're deal with an extreme amount of anger, violence, anger, what have you. So
uh-huh.
you learn. I learned to deal with it. I learned to deal with it. I learned how to overcome it. But this was a different type of anxiety, right? This is like so many people around me at once. So I
Right.
started getting claustrophobic in a big ass tunnel with more than enough room. So it's
Mm.
kind of like a reverse claustrophobia, right? But it passed, and I kept going. And after that, bro, it was pure glee, pure happiness for me. Uh, I couldn't believe I was out. It was surreal. I honestly never thought I was gonna get out. And obviously, I could sit here, we could do a part two, part three, and I would still have enough time, barely have enough time to just try to convey the things that I went through. The situations that I overcame to not catch life in prison. You
Mm.
know, I got close to catching life. So I mean, I maxed out, bro. I was only supposed to do 12 years out of 15, but I ended up
Damn.
doing 15 years straight.
So
So
you were getting
all
into all kinds of shit.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I did stuff. I did five shoot terms, and I wasn't a lifer, bro.
Right.
So um, I finally get to the Metro Lake. I make it home, and the rest was a breeze because I already knew what I wanted to do. I
Mhm.
knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wasn't gonna go back. I knew for a fact I wasn't gonna go back. I was done with that get lifestyle. About 8, 9 years into my prison term, I was done, and I'm talking about completely done, brother. It was a complete transformation. Very rarely does it happen in there, but I went through such extreme violence, such extreme heartbreak, seeing some of my cellies die, some of my best friends in there die, um, stabbing people that I didn't want to stab for a cause I no longer believed in.
Mm.
That I was just over it. I was over it. I was tired of being tired. So I still spent 5, 6 more years in there. When I didn't believe in that cause.
That's
So it was overkill as far as being in there. So by the time I made it out, man, bro, I was blessed. So I got off parole within 2 years. I paroled
nice.
to a program. I was in a program for 6 months. It was a breeze. It was the easiest 6 months of my life. Some people in there were like, this program, this, they got
You were
locked
like,
up
y'all
again. I was
complain
like, man,
about nothing. You guys are complaining
yeah,
about
nothing.
nothing.
You
Shut
got
up.
exactly, bro. Exactly. Shut up. You have somewhere to live and sleep,
Yeah.
and we had yoga and acupuncture. I'm like, man, bro, this is like an adventure to me, bro.
Yeah.
You
Y'all
guys are crying over
completely.
some
Yeah.
bullshit, for sure. And then I got off parole. Literally, I started from the ground up. I got a job. I saved up, bought my first car. It was a 2001 Dodge, but to me it was like a Mercedes Benz, brother.
Hell yeah. I feel
So
it, man.
so yeah, I mean, it was a complete transformation, and now, I mean, I have a 1 year old now. Uh, I left my daughter when she was 15. She's now almost 18 years old. I'm married. I got my wife. I met my wife in prison, by the way. She was
Oh,
actual counselor at Kern Valley. Yeah, she was an actual
oh
counselor. That's another adventure.
no.
Yeah,
We have to
yeah,
do a
no
part
bullshit.
two. We get
All
this got to be a
right.
part two, man. But tell
For
me a
sure,
little bit.
brother.
Tell me a little bit about it. Break it down for me. How did it go down?
Shit, man. I mean, imagine. Okay, so we have these substance abuse. It's called SUD, Substance Abuse Treatment Facility, right? Oh no, Substance Use Disorder Treatment, SUD. And we used to go every day in prison, Monday through Friday, and they're facilitators, right? They're in there. They give you a curriculum, packets, whatnot, and they
Uh-huh.
teach the class, whatnot. And at the time, it's funny how it happened. One counselor ended up getting a promotion, so we had about a week period with no counselors wanted to take the class. So I started teaching the class. I stepped up, because I got a degree. I got my college. I got degrees and everything inside, right? I educated myself
Awesome.
inside. But so I was like, fuck, you guys don't want to teach your class? I'll teach it then. So by the time my wife got in the class, she's like, oh, okay, you already teaching the class? I'm like, no, hell no, this is your class. Do your thing. So right off the top, we connected. I was never trying to get at her though.
Okay.
She was real ethical. She wasn't trying to get at no inmates or anything like that, bro. Like the
Gotcha.
complete opposite. She wasn't one of those, she wasn't flirtatious or nothing like that. She was ethical. She was strict. She was all that. The fact that me and her hit it off was just one of those things that life, it's destiny, just little by little, we would talk. It was not even our intention to do so. And there used to be this thing called one-on-ones with all her clients.
Mm,
And that's how it happened, little by little.
that's
And for the
insane.
next 5, 6 months, it just happened, bro.
Yeah,
I know other dudes try. Trust me, there's dudes in there trying all the time. But
for
most dudes
sure.
don't. Most dudes don't in California or even on the 4 yards because they're scared of getting in trouble. They're scared of them reporting them. Be like, oh, he's harassing me, and rightfully so. So even when I knew that we had some chemistry, I still didn't do anything for months, bro. To me it was like, nah, I'm good. I ain't trying to end up in a hole for thinking my ass that she likes me. Every jackass thinks that these girls like them. They're just being nice.
Right.
A counselor could smile at the dude in there. And he's like, oh, April,
They
she likes me,
swear.
bro. And I used to hear dudes like, shut the hell up, dog. She's just being cool. But yeah, it's a freaking it's a sideshow for sure, bro. But that's how it happened. That's the short of it, man. But yeah, it was just meant to be. It was
That's
meant to be. I'm
beautiful.
not gonna
I'm
sit
very
here and be
happy
like,
for
oh,
you
I was a
guys.
pimp. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, I used to pull all these girls. No, there was nothing like that, bro. It was meant to happen, bro.
For sure.
That's how it
And
happened. Yeah.
how long you been married now?
I've been married for over a year now. We've been together 5 years now. I mean, we've been
Yeah.
together 5 years technically. Been married over a year, and we've been together the whole time since I'm paroled, almost 3 years physically. But yeah, it was definitely I haven't even told that story on my channel because I've been waiting, right?
Oh
But
wow.
it was
Okay.
definitely, yeah, it was definitely, and I don't mind sharing it with you, but it was definitely imagine, bro, there were some dudes that ended up finding out because you're in an acutely enclosed area with dudes that are smart, brother. You know, you got some of the most dangerous and smart individuals in the whole country, if not the world. You know,
Mm.
so eventually they'll pick up on certain things. As subtle and as low key as we were, there was one dude that ended up catching on to it. And bro, it was like the worst human being in there. He was from 18th Street, bro. This dude was a hater. But anyways, so yeah, it was definitely a serious situation. It got dangerous a few times. So she ended up having to leave. But it was yeah, that's how we met, bro. It was definitely an adventure, man. But I didn't have nobody my whole term though. I didn't have nobody for 15 years almost until she
Damn.
came in the picture. Yeah, for sure. I burned all my bridges, not with girls, but like I didn't think about relationships before I got in prison. I was just all about gang banging, all about my hood, all about putting in work, all about slanging. That's all it was. Whatever girls I was with them uh, 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 for the moment. And as soon as I got locked up, that was my career. And I
Gotcha.
never wanted a girl. So yeah,
Gotcha. Damn. So I mean, I know you have a. You said you have kids now, right?
yeah. I have a two of my kids are my stepkids, and one of my and we had a kid. He just turned a year
House.
on the 11th. Yeah, on the
How,
11th. So yeah, he's a year old now. Yeah, for sure.
so how do
And
you
an
keep
18
your?
year
What was that?
and I have an 18-year-old daughter from before I
Oh,
went to prison.
gotcha, gotcha. So how do you keep your
Yeah.
nose clean now? How do you stay on the straight and narrow? I know it's still pretty fresh. I mean, it's still safe to say it's still pretty fresh, right? I mean, it hasn't even been over 5 years, right? So
Yeah.
how have you been
Yeah.
focused? What keeps you on the right track?
So for me, right, it's funny that you say it's fresh because it really is. You
It
know, for
kind
a
of
lot of
is.
people out there, yeah, for a lot of people, unless you've been out for like 5 years or more, then that's already like okay, you're probably gonna stay out now. For
Hmm.
me, it was like that from day one, you know,
Mm,
because I just know what I want, bro. I'm never
gotcha.
gonna be deprived of my freedom because I'm just never gonna put myself in that hellhole. You know, the reason I called my platform a prisoner's awakening is because I had that epiphany. I woke up. This prisoner woke up and I snapped out of it. And prison was not prison for me when I was in prison. Prison was what I was supposed to be doing. Prison was my career. Prison was my university. Prison was part of the plan. I was putting in work, earning my stripes towards my career. It wasn't until I completely didn't believe in that lifestyle anymore where prison became a prison to me. I
Hmm.
finally woke up and I woke up, I was like, what the hell did I do? You know? Then it became a prison to me.
Gotcha.
Then I couldn't stand the four walls. Then it wasn't part of the plan and I couldn't wait to get the hell out. So I put forth the steps to get out, not only educating myself, but my education came from Juvenile Hall informally. But by the time I picked it up with the purpose, it was the latter part of my term. So yeah, I mean, that's why a platform's called that. From the when I say from the day that I got out, it's been part of the plan. It's been part of the plan because I never stayed out more than a month, two
Mm.
weeks. So
So this is
almost
big.
3 years is it's an
Yeah.
eternity for me, you
Right.
know. But I don't keep count. I don't keep count. It's not
Gotcha.
one of those things where like I've been out a year or 2 years because I'm not keeping count
Right.
because I know I'm not going back.
You're in it for the
There's
long
just
run.
nothing that's gonna take me back, brother. You know, nothing's gonna send me back. It was a complete transformation, an inherent transformation to where I know that not only is it not an option, but now shit, I got my kids to worry about now. You know,
Hmm.
I work, I keep busy, I have my platform, and my biggest mission with it is to keep youngsters and even reoffenders like me out of prison, and that's my mission, brother. And that's my passion.
I I can agree with that, brother, for sure. Because would it be safe to say, long story short, you were sick and tired of being sick and tired?
Extremely
Yeah.
well said.
And you were ready for a change. You were ready for something new. And that's what drives you. And then as you accumulated little things, like you said, your first car felt like a Benz. Like it's just those little things you could
Hmm.
call your own. That's motivation, right? Because like coming from nothing and you
Yep.
start getting stuff for yourself, you're like, you know what? Let me see how much more I could build. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I,
And
I
it's
fu-
not getting old. And it
it's not
hasn't got
it,
old.
it,
It's
it
not gonna
doesn't.
get old. I love it, bro. You know, some people like I love. going to the store and having 10 fucking bags of groceries that are heavy as hell. I
Mhm.
hate that. People hate that second trip to go back to the car and walk all the way upstairs, you know. I love shit like that, bro. You know, and it just comes from being deprived of it for so long. The
Mm.
freedom, you know, nobody really appreciates their freedom or takes, and they take things for granted, you know.
Yeah.
But when you get locked up for that amount of time, or even like a decent amount of time, right? I think one day in jail is one day too long. You don't have to go to prison to, you know, to have deprived yourself and done time and learned the lesson.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, so some people just learn, some don't, and it's fine.
Mhm.
It happens. You know, it
Right.
all stems from what you believe in and what your motivations are and what your goals are, for sure.
I mean, well, is there any? I feel like we touched on a lot, but you did mention that you'd be down for a part two, and I had a really good time chopping it up with you because it's just feel like we had a pretty solid conversation for sure.
For sure, brother. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to tell the subscribers before we call it a night? I mean, you mentioned, A Prisoner's Awakening. That's the YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description below. Anything else?
Yeah, no, yeah. Thank you, brother. If you guys check out the channel, if you guys are interested in my journey, I barely started it about almost 3 months ago now. It's doing really well. If you want to hear somebody's journey, somebody's message, and how I went from a complete gang member that was killing people to, you know, to doing shoot terms, to being with the Mexican mafia, things like that, you'll be able to see it in detail. We'll do a part two definitely, and we'll get into a lot of interesting things. But there's nothing that I can say here, or even a part two or three, that I'm gonna be able to say in my channel for the next couple of years. So if you guys want to get in debt and want to get to know who I am, that's where you got to go. But no, I want to thank you, brother. I want to thank you for having me, because me, brother, for me, it's important to cross that cultural line, meaning
Mm,
my Asian brothers, my black
right.
brothers, you
Yeah,
know,
I
brown brother.
agree.
I don't just want to keep it brown. A lot of channels
Right.
keep it brown, you know, and I know that my channel's in its infancy. I mean, I have a decent amount of subs, but to me, it's not about the numbers. You know, I
Right.
get thousands of views and all that good stuff, right?
Mm,
I know a lot of people get caught in that, and it's cool. But to me, it's about my message, and I just want to spread it. And I know in the next year, I'm gonna be in a good place for
mm.
sure, just like you are. And it's about saving the youngsters. It's about saving our reoffenders and keeping all our races out of prison, because we just definitely do not belong there, bro. And that's what it's about. That's my passion. That's why I started it. And thank you for having me, bro. I
Of
really
course,
appreciate
brother.
you.
Before I let you go, let me just ask you one more question, and you don't have to
Of course.
exactly answer it if you don't want to, but what is one thing that you would tell maybe a guy that's about to get into the things that they're going to get into right now? Would you say, what do you think is the biggest difference between gang banging now and when you were active back in the day in the early 2000s?
Shit. Okay. So yeah. I mean, I was born in the '80s, grew up the whole '90s, started banging in the late '90s, and caught my term in the early '90s, in the early thousands. Um, it's not the same. And not only is it not the same, let's just say you believe in that. You know, you're young, you think that's what you want to do. You want to start gang banging, bro. Do not do it. You know, because it's sad to say, but there was a golden age of gang banging. You know, and
Mm,
that was the '90s. You know,
okay.
into the early thousands. That was the
Okay.
last of the Mohicans, when things were really active, where you really, there was no SNYRs, there's no prevalent snitching, no
Mm,
code of omerta being violated, nothing like that, where the structure and the code was really the code. It's been dead for a long time. So before you find yourself in a prison cell, juvenile hall cell, YA cell, and then have to realize this, then heed my words. Gang banging is over. It's always going to be alive in a sense where there's always going to be people killing each other, but there's always going to be murders without the gang element, you know? So don't think that you need to be from a gang to kill somebody or to gain stripes. It's over, guys. Trust me. There's dudes in prison that have been there for 40 years, 30 years, that wish they could go home. They have life. And before you find yourself in a cell, wishing that you could go home, wishing that you could taste freedom, think about those things. You know, and this is no disrespect to gang members or to active gang members or to anybody. This is from somebody that lived a life, and you could hear it everywhere. Anybody will tell you they stay away from the hood because everybody's on meth, everybody's tweaking, everybody's telling on each other. It's completely not what it used to be. So before you go thinking that you're going to revive the '90s or the early thousands or the '80s, you can't revive it no more, bro. That age has passed. Gangbanging has already passed into the era of, it's done. It's vintage, brother. It's history. You know. So just Take care of your family, take care of your kids, because trust me, there's nothing there for you. And convicts in there will tell you that. Anybody that goes into prison, mark my words, that has a date, they'll tell you themselves, low key. They're not supposed to tell you this, but they'll tell you if they have life, hey, youngsters, stay out. Don't come back. Take care of your family. This is not the business. I was surprised when I first heard that from a major gang member, and he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong.